All right, so this is another video. I guess this is video number 4. I'm going to try to go through the first B vitamins 1, 2, and 3 fairly quickly and try to keep it in one video. So B1, B2, and B3 are essentially energy vitamins. That's why they're part of the national enrichment process of adding them to flour that's made from processed grains, right? So white bread, not wheat bread. Wheat bread already has B1, B2, B3, etc. inside the bread. B1 is called thiamine. It's definitely involved in energy metabolism. It's unlikely that anyone you meet in America has thiamine deficiency, except for some at-risk groups. Sources, yeah, whole foods are a great source, but so aren't crackers and ramen and bread and cookies and pasta. And the orange crackers you get from a vending machine that have a funny kind of peanut butter in the middle, right? Is it peanut butter or is it plastic? So it's hard to really develop deficiency. We know that historically, in the past, when people ate foods that were unenriched, so prior to 1947, and perhaps only like polished white rice or just maybe corn only, they would develop the deficiency of thiamine, B1. It's called beriberi, and I forget which country that the name of that disease comes from. I forget. But what we see in beriberi is almost like a disassembling of the body on the inside. It can cause swelling everywhere. That's edema. Or it can actually cause wasting, where the person looks very slim. You can die from beriberi. We don't see beriberi much in modern times. What we see is Wernicke-Korsakoff. It is a cognitive disorder. It includes the staggered gait, when someone can't stand up straight, when they have memory issues, the foggy memory. So it's kind of a combined psychological cognitive disorder. Alcoholics generally are at risk. They don't eat a lot of food that have B1. Consuming alcohol and metabolizing alcohol, processing it, involves B1 in the body. So you're not eating it and you're kind of, I hate to use the term, but burning through it. So they're at risk for Wernicke-Korsakoff. And the standard treatment, the standard ER treatment, emergency room treatment, is an IV bag of B1. The problem is for many alcoholics, even if they're treated at an ER on a weekend, they could be back 3 to 4 months later for the same treatment. So it can cause some nerve damage. It can cause some cognitive impairment permanently. And that's going to be your at-risk population. There is no toxicity. It's water soluble. You just pee it out. B2 is riboflavin. We just don't see a lot of riboflavin deficiency in the United States. There are some medications, I believe some for tuberculosis, which can affect B2 status. And it's enriched and in lots of different kind of foods. The reason why I actually like to teach it is because it has an odd deficiency. The tongue can turn. Now, this image doesn't give a very good image of it. The tongue can even turn darker than that and become almost magenta, like a purplish red. The lips become cracked, and the person can have photophobia, which is an intense desire not to be exposed to bright light, like you see with conjunctivitis. B2 is actually found in dairy, and because B2 is susceptible to light, we actually make sure that the refrigerator light goes off when you close the door. Many of us tested that as kids. And so, getting B2 from food, look, this is the red line is for women, the blue line is for men, your RDA. It's easy. I mean, one bowl of cereal, it's easy. So it's not a vitamin we see a lot of deficiency of. No toxicity. Niacin. Now here's one that has an actual history in the United States. Niacin is just like B1 and 2, used for energy, but there is a deficiency of it. And whenever there's a name like beriberi and Wernicke-Korsakoff, there's probably a history. Pellagra is a kind of deficiency disorder that starts with like a diarrhea and then a scaly purplish dermatitis, like a really bad rash, leads to dementia and then leads to death. About 100 years ago in the U.S., thousands of Americans died from pellagra. Part of it was when you live off corn and that's your primary food source in the wintertime. And it's not corn that's really processed. It's just dried corn made into cornmeal. Niacin in the corn is not available for the body. So you eat a porridge with corn, like a mushy porridge, and then you just don't get the niacin, so you would develop pellagra. And this would happen in prisons, this would happen in folks who were really poor, and typically they would isolate the person and keep feeding them the same food that caused it. So a lot of people died from pellagra. And it wasn't until they realized you needed a varied diet to prevent it. B3 is typically found in things that have protein. So if it's plant or animal, like peanut butter or tuna, those are really good sources of B3 niacin. You can find it, of course, in things that are enriched, so crackers and breakfast cereal. You should not have an issue getting B3 niacin if you have a varied diet. If you don't, you could develop deficiency of it. I can get this to work. Here's pellagra. Check it out. Now, you would figure that Native Americans and people living in Central America, the Mesoamericans, would have had the same issue. We know Native Americans, especially in Mexico, Central America, South America, corn was a staple of the diet, and cornmeal was a staple of the diet. But Native Americans, when they would make corn bread, they would take the corn, dry it, crush it down, and then for whatever reason, they would add ashes from the fire. Juniper is one of those little berries that's used to make alcoholic beverages. You would take juniper ashes, add it to the cornmeal, mix it up, and then add water to it, and then make your bread. Adding the alkali-rich ash frees up the niacin. So it actually really was a southern United States folks working on corn farms who had access to not a lot of other kind of foods disorder. We didn't see it in Native Americans. One more thing about niacin, it does have toxicity. So whereas B1 and B2, you pee them out, with niacin, it is used to treat a couple things. Keep one thing. Niacin does have a medical use to treat low good cholesterol. If your HDL runs low, your physician can put you on mega doses of niacin. Unfortunately, niacin is toxic. Even a little bit above what is recommended, I think it's what is the RDA is. Yeah, like I was going to say 15. You get to about 35 milligrams a day, you can break out in a rash and have hives. That's called the flush. That's not dangerous. Taking mega doses, 500, 1,000 milligrams a day for your HDL, to boost your HDL, if unmonitored, can cause liver damage. So those who go on those kind of medications typically have to, every 3 to 6 months, do a liver function test and make sure that your liver enzymes aren't spiking and the niacin itself is causing liver damage.